Here I'm going to be showing you how to remove the auger. First thing you're going to need is either 13/16 wrench or 7/8 wrench, and then it would be the opposite. So I got a 13/16 wrench with me right here, 7/8 socket. And the reason for that is 9/16 bolts. The head is different, a different size than the nut is. The nut is larger, so I'm using 13/16 up on the bolt head, and I'm going to hammer on the nut from the back side with a 7/8 socket and an impact. I'll take the open end of my wrench and I'll remove it. So you got that. There is a washer on this bottom side here. There's a washer there. Get this out. Has a nut. I'll just pull this bolt out. Now I take it, slide that off of there. Now that that bolt's gone, now we'll come over to this side and just repeat that process. Same deal. Sneak this impact, sneak the impact back here. Get that started on the nut. Now I'll get my wrench up here. So before removing your auger or even starting the process, one good thing to do is to make sure that your auger is rotated in the correct orientation. You'll see here, I have the head of the bolt and the closed side of the auger tube. You can kind of see on the back side here where I'm talking about closed versus open. Open side, you can see it's just that machined piece right here. The reason for that is once you remove that bolt, now you can just pull the auger off forward and you don't have to do more finagling than you should. So that's now with that in that position. Now you just can take this bolt out, and instead of having to lift it backwards and then up and around that, now a guy can just grab it here. Should lift right out. Now you can move this out of the way if you need to get into your fan or anything. Set this out of the way. This obviously could be done on the floor. We just have a nice stand here to make it a little more convenient for myself. So yeah, that's how you pop the auger out, pretty simple. So here we're gonna start removing the fan. If you're just replacing the fan motor, it is not necessary to pull the whole auger out. All you need to do is loosen the fan off of the shaft. So removing the auger is not a necessary step for that. So here I'm going to go through how to remove the fan. First things we're going to want to do is make sure we have the right sockets and impacts to do that. Here I have a 9/16 socket on a smaller impact. That's here to take off this snow retention piece. It has 3 nuts on it. The bolts are held by a jam nut behind there. So I'll go through doing that quick. Yeah, just continue taking these nuts off here. All 3 of those off. Now this plate might be a little stubborn, but just take and do that here quick. Yeah, so get that off, out of the way. Now I don't need that 9/16 anymore. Now I'm going to take here, I have a very sizable impact with an 1.5" socket on it. That is for the castle nut that holds the fan on. So here we'll take, and it's gonna be real noisy, so everybody watch your ears. I'm gonna plug my one ear. I got a ear plug in the other one. So now that nut's free. Take and finish threading that off. Get that out of the way. And now I'll take, we now have puller slots in the fan. That's what those 2 slots here and up here are for putting one of these fancy dancy pullers on. For that, I'm going to use a 3/4 inch socket to drive the push rod. So yeah, now we'll take the puller, make sure that the jaws are wide enough to get through our slots. Get that around there. Now I'll take and start snugging it up. So then those arms aren't going to pull off. Once that gets to a point, now we'll take our impact with the socket. You'll want to make sure that the push rod is going right in the center of the shaft for your fan motor. So that's going to pull nice and even on you. Now once that's tight, it's all snugged up. Now I'm just going to take and have my impact on the tighten setting. And now it should it'll take a little bit, but you'll hear the pop when it comes. So if it's being real stubborn like that, we'll see here. All I'm doing here is just taking a hammer, seeing if this is going to pop it loose. There we go. So just took a little extra convincing, I guess. That off of here now. Get the puller out of the way. And now I should be able to take and lift this fan out. Now you have access back to the shaft for the fan motor and can replace your fan if you need to. So here I'm going to show you how to reinstall the fan if you've removed it or had to replace it for damage or anything like that. First thing we'll want to do is just check on the back side of this shaft, but there's a keyway. Want to make sure that that key is still in there, as that's what's powering the fan, making sure it doesn't slide on the shaft. So after making sure that your keyway is still in there, now you can take your new fan or existing fan, depending on what situation, lift that back up in here. Now I'll lift it up into the housing. And then here you'll just want to make sure your keyway is somewhat lined up. And you'll feel it falls back onto the shaft there. Now that's back on. Now I'll just take some Loctite. Doesn't have to be this exact Loctite, but preferably on the better side of things to hold this nut in place. Now I'm just going to take and dabble a little on these threads. See if I got it open. Yep. A little there. And put a little on that nut. Now I'm going to start that nut on there. By hand, make sure that it's all threaded right. Get back my big 1.5 inch socket on the bigger impact. This will be noisy, so make sure you have some hearing protection. And that you'll just want to make sure it's hammered on tight. Obviously it's not wiggling anymore. Then make sure it still moves. It's not pressed against the back of the fan housing. So you can see there it still moves. Once that's back on there, now I can take this snow retention plate again. And I'm going to put this up here on these 2 bolts first. And this one up top is loose. So take that, get all these nuts started on here again. Make sure they're the good nylock nuts. And now grab your 9/16 socket with an impact and a wrench. I'm going to tighten up these bottom 2, don't need a wrench. And then this top one, I'll just reach around with this box end of the wrench, get that on there and get this one tightened up. Now that's all back in there, all good to go. Just take and move that, make sure it's not hitting anything. All that's all good. That's how you replace your fan. Okay, when you're going to reinstall your auger, you're going to want to have, again, a 13/16 wrench or socket and a 7/8 wrench or socket. I have 13/16 wrench, 7/8 socket. Reason for that is I'm going to be tightening with the impact from the nut side, which is larger. First thing you're gonna wanna do is come to the drive belt side. You'll take this, get it lined up. There's a roll pin that you get the one hole on. So I'm gonna have to come right here, get that. So now that's lined up on the roll pin. Should allow me to take the bolt, put that through there. And now this washer, this goes on the back side with a nut. Take and hold that on there. I'll get that started. And here, I'm actually going to start with tightening this side completely. So now I'm going to take and sneak this impact back here again. Make sure it's going the right way, which I believe it is, but I'm going to double check with my eyes. Yep, so we're going the right way. Get that on the nut. Now take the open end of your wrench. Might need to spin it a little. Get that on the head of the bolt. Now tighten her up. So now that's retightened, true back on this machine piece. So here on this side, you want to make sure that this is turned with this roll pin facing in about the same direction as your other one is. You'll be able to tell here with where your auger holes are. Just kind of line it up. And now you're going to take here, kind of grab and lift. It is a little heavier. You lift that on. That goes back on that roll pin. Now that roll pin's going right through the hole, right where you should be. Now it gives you a spot to put your bolt through. And then take and put your washer on the back side with the nut again. Washer first, obviously, and then nut afterwards. Get that started on there by hand. Once that's all threaded on there, now you'll take your impact and do your wrench again. Sneak the impact back around here. Make sure it's still on tighten, which it is. Get that back on the nut. Open end of your wrench and tighten her back up. Now you got a fully reinstalled auger ready to blow snow.